Hi everyone, welcome back to In My Twenties, the podcast with me, your host, Bookie Smart Sulaiman. Very excited for this episode today. We're going to be talking about something I think at some point in your 20s you're going to become very familiar with. It is personal reinvention. And this is something I discovered, I think around 23, 24, where I was like, I'm not sure if I like the person that I am. Like she's good, but she could be great, and she's not great yet. And so I wanted to reinvent myself in a couple of different ways with like work, with my friends, with how I lived my life, the kind of things that I did, all of that, right? Just knowing the person I wanted to end up being. And so that's what today's podcast episode is going to be. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, to the podcast as well, please do on wherever you are listening to this on or watching this. It really does help. Leave me a rating or review as well. Let me know if you're enjoying these episodes, right? Because Homegirl is here putting in work. So I want to know that it's been received very well. So please do take the time to let me know. So I'm going to read this newsletter that I wrote earlier this year. It's titled Personal Reinvention, an Act of War. When something as monumental and life-changing happens, like the death of a loved one, people change. Some grow dark, losing the will to live for something or someone. Some grow weary and suspicious of life itself, asking, who's next? What other tragedy is coming and how do they prepare? Some grow bold, daring to live greatly and love more. Some grow jealous of others, but mostly of themselves and the life they used to live and have. Some, like me, do it all and then struggle to find their identity in this new world. Personal reinvention is a brilliant life hack I discovered in 2021 when my life was going swimmingly well in one direction, which was in my relationships, and then swimming downstream in another, which was work. And so at 24, I started to ask, who was I? What did I want out of life? Who am I becoming? How do I want to show up at work? And what does that look like? I asked myself these questions for days without number in what some will call a quarter life identity crisis, or as I call it, a rediscovery period of self. And at that period, I discovered so many things about myself that I now know for sure at 26. I know for sure the following. I know I'm a hard worker. I know that I love deep. I know that I am beautiful and brave and strong. I know that I am also soft and sensitive and I cry a lot. And I am a hopeful romantic. I know the daughter of who I am and whose I am. I know that I'm a lover and a fighter. I fight for what I believe in. I know that I set the pace of my life and I courageously follow every dream and passion. I know that I'm a brilliant writer, creator, and storyteller. I know what I care about and what I stand for and what I don't let define me. I know the plans that God has for me are big and beautiful, sometimes weird and scary, but really good plans. I know that I can trust myself. All of these things I know for sure. And yet, going through grief with a heart that is still so heavy, I still struggle to find myself in this new life that I am now living. One without a core part of my identity, my mother. I know who I am, but does this new version of myself know her? They look alike, but they are not the same. Same body, same soul, different spirits. Am I emotionally depressed, distraught, consumed or numbed by grief? Or am I just going through the slow, very often aggressive motions of a personal reinvention? Likely all, but I actually don't know. Usually I know every emotion that I'm feeling, but now there are too many to count, too many to name one by one. When I was writing this newsletter, I remember thinking, like really, really thinking of life as I know it, or life as I have had to know it so far. I remember thinking of the qualities that I love the most about myself. And now, having to do life without my mom, who I spoke to on a daily basis, who FaceTimed me on my way to work, on my way back from work, when I was cooking, when I was waking up, who was such a big part of the person that I am and how I show up today. It made me really scared. It made me really like frightened and worried. Like, am I able to still be this person, right? All the things I said I know for sure. Do I really know it for sure? Does that still apply to the person I am now? Because life pre mummy and now that she's not here anymore, it seems very different. And it literally shook me to my core thinking about this. It was very scary. But that's not what this is about, right? This episode is really for people who are kind of struggling, maybe with where they're at now, and they just want a different way out, right? I write in the newsletter, personal reinvention offers you a way out of somewhere you don't want to be anymore. But it does come with work, a lot of it. So when I was like 23, 24, and trying to really redefine myself, I wanted to show up as a new version of myself. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to do that. So, for example, I knew the kind of friend that I wanted to be and also the kind of friends I wanted to keep. And I felt like, okay, we're going to have to make some changes. This is probably going to cost us some money. I wanted to change my wardrobe. I was like, I went through like university with a really good sense of style, I would say. And I came out and I was working and I got my corporate girl boss hat on. But after like a year or two, I was like, I do love my nudes and neutral palettes, but maybe I can start switching it up every now and again. Maybe I don't have to look and dress like Olivia Pope, and maybe that would actually be okay. And even just in terms of how I wanted to appear to people at work, I had to sit down and like think about when I'm not in the room or when they're looking out for me or calling me for something, how do I want people to describe me? I am the girl that does blank. Like, am I the girl who shows up on time, who's early for work? Am I someone who goes above and beyond? Am I someone who is reliable, I can be relied upon? Am I someone who does great work, even if it takes time? Am I someone who they would want to, fly me out to meet a clients because I'm good at building relationships and communicating well? Like, really, really thinking about that person, right? And then when I sat down to define, okay, this is where I'm going, I had to first come back, okay, but this is where I am now. So how do we bridge the gap? And so reinventing yourself in your look, in your friends, where you live, where you work, the habits that you have, the places you go, the things you do for fun, the people you call your community. Guys, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It will take and take and take until your old self is almost a shadow of your new self. You will have to learn a lot. You have to wage war for the person you want to be. It will take time, it will take efforts. Many instances, it will also take money. So let me talk you through what I did. In me reinventing myself, of course, the first thing I did was, like I said, just write down or create a mood board, if you will, of the kind of person you want to be. And it's even better if you already have that person as like a mentor or someone you look up to, a role model of sorts. So for me, there were a few people I was following on social media at that point that I was like, I like the way this person dresses. I like her style. What can I take from that? I like the way this person has just maybe appears online, like in terms of the kind of content they put out or the kind of messaging or the kind of storytelling, all of that. I like how it looks. There were people who I also liked how they were navigating themselves in their careers and how they were showing up and all the amazing accomplishments that they had. And I started to form friendships with these people. I started to get closer to them. And you do that the standard way you would when you're shooting your shots with friendships on social media. If you haven't already done it, I absolutely recommend. I have met some of my best friends literally by shooting my shots on Instagram or on Twitter. I would like slide into their DMs, or I would comment like, "Oh my God, I think you're like my kindred spirits. We should be friends." Doesn't always work, but like almost 90% of the time it has worked for me. And so that's what I started doing, right? In aligning myself with who I wanted to be, because I think that more than just writing these things down or even having a mood board, if you can see it, then I think it's easier for you to know that you can become it. And that's not to say that you're going to morph yourself into someone or necessarily like copy someone, right? But you're getting inspiration, you're getting motivation, you're also getting the confidence to show up as this new version of yourself. If you're also thinking about it more so from like a friendship perspective, where you're in your 20s and maybe some of your friends up until now, they've just been from school and you haven't really had that much in common with them lately because you are in this middle position where you have your life as you know it with the history and the backgrounds and the legacy friends, but you also have this person that you want to be. And you're now trying to almost like balance out the two, and it's causing a lot of like confusion, or it's causing a lot of like just lack of clarity. Like, what exactly am I doing? Where am I going to with this, right? I think you can for sure like edit your life and edit your friends and decide who you want to keep and who you don't think will be useful or be as great a friend or support system in this next phase of your life. And I think that when you're in your 20s, you're going to have this really difficult conversations with yourself, but also with your friends. And I'm not definitely, I'm not saying you should throw friendships away or break up with people if they are not in alignment with you, sure. But I think the bigger conversation here is actually figuring out like, can these people come with me? Are these people still able to show up for me in this new way that I want to show up for myself? And I don't think everyone is going to be able to go on that journey with you. And that's fine. And I really hope that in your 20s, especially when it comes to friends, you're not playing it safe. You cannot afford to play it safe. I think that you need to really define the community that you want to have, because a lot of your life is going to be lived with it, with community, in community. A lot of the things you're going to go through it with your friends, with your community. And so it's important, it is paramount that you are doing life with the right people. There is no time, for me at least, to waste on people who, more than they don't care about me, it's like, are they aligned with the same values and the same beliefs that I have? If I want to be great and if I want to accomplish certain things in life and the kind of big, audacious, scary goals that I have, I need to know that people believe in those things for me too. And they're not questioning, like, who does she think she is? Does she think she's better than me? Does she really think she's going to go out and achieve these things? I need them to be able to go to war for me in prayer. If I'm having challenges in certain areas of my life, I need them to pray through it with me. So I will 100% say that a big part about like reinventing yourself is relationships, the people you surround yourself with, the friends you surround yourself with, the people you want to call family. So for me, I'm the only girl in my family. I grew up with two brothers. I have an older and younger brother, but I never felt as if I didn't have sisters because I was very intentional about my friends. And in a previous episode on friendships, you guys, would have already heard me talk about why that was important and kind of how I was just really able to like forge really strong female friendships, yes, but just general like really good friends. Like I have friends who I have known for 10, 15 years who are like solid friends, not friends I'm just keeping around because I've known them for so long or because we went to school together. And it was around this period of like redefining myself that I also started to identify some people that I wanted to go on this life journey with, and or I wanted to get to know them to determine if I want to go on this life journey with. So some of the newer friends that I've had over the last 2 to 3 years, I have mostly found them on social media actually, and then cultivated a relationship with them outside of social media. We've gone for lunch, we've gone for dates, we've traveled together, they've come to my house, I've gone to their house, we spend time on FaceTime or texting on calls. And all of that is in an attempt to get to know them and get to figure out, like, okay, does this person align with where I want to be in future? Do I think that they have the capacity for me in their lives to show up fully as who I am, authentically as who I am? Because I'm not going to be like, I'm, out here pretending for anybody. Like, I'm too grown to be having like shallow friendships or surface level friendships. Like, what are we actually doing here? We need to be each other's biggest cheerleaders. We need to have really tough and hard conversation and still be able to move on. We need to fight, but know that this fight is not going to break us. Yeah, so that's what I would say when it comes to like reinventing your friendships. Reinventing work was also a really big part of this journey for me. So, like I mentioned in the newsletter, in 2021, I was building and solidifying all these really great relationships and just figuring out, like, yeah, these are my people. But then with work, I was confused as heck. And that really kickstarted my journey in figuring out the kind of work that I wanted to do. So more than just the job or the job title or the industry that I wanted to do or be, I was looking for, like, what does the work that I'm going to do look like? How does it feel like? Like, what do my day-to-days look like? What do my emails look like? What meetings am I having? Who are the stakeholders I'm seeing? Do I want to be more client facing? And is that internal clients or external clients? All of these questions, right? I had to really sit down and ask myself. And they were really, tough and difficult because I didn't know. And I only started knowing more by taking action. So you guys would have probably seen or heard that I quit my job at EY when I was a financial advisor, and I was unemployed for about 3 months trying to navigate and figure out what work I wanted to do next. And again, I'm focusing on work because it wasn't a job or role or industry or title that I was after. It was how my life was going to feel more than what my life looks like to everybody else. I really wanted to focus on how my life was going to feel. And so that came by just me going for different interviews, literally whatever tickled my interest, whatever tickled my fancy, whatever I thought was even remotely interesting as a work role, I applied for. And then during that process, of course, I navigated it, and then it started narrowing down into what I now do within Amazon. And that was a really big part of my reinvention, because I think that work plays such a big part of your life, like almost too big, too big of a part in your life that I didn't want to get it wrong. And not to say that the last two roles that I had before my current one was like wrong. I think it was just for me believing in myself, right, and trusting the timing of my life, which I always talk about. But I wanted to make sure that because work is so important to me and a big part of the person I am, like I wrote here, like I do like to work. A big part of that is then making sure that I am doing the right work and I'm doing work that feeds my soul, work that I enjoy, work that challenges me, with people who give me the respect that I deserve, the respect that I'm due, working with really bright minds, really brilliant people, like all of those things contributed to my reinvention of myself for work. There's also like reinvention in terms of your desires and your lifestyle and the way that you live. So for me, I started thinking a lot about, like, okay, when I'm going out, this is how I would like to look, this is how I would like to present myself. When people see me, I want them to think of me as this kind of person. And you guys, that is the one that costs the most money, okay? Because I decided that my closet was not good enough anymore. Not so much it wasn't good enough, it just didn't fit the person that I wanted to be anymore. And so I was going to really have to do a lot of work and invest money into my new style. And again, I followed the right people that I felt reflected the style that I was trying to attain. And I took one or two tips from them, I took inspiration from them, and I just started crafting the woman I wanted to look like and show up as and present myself to the world as. And you guys, I think I did a good job, if I do say so myself. And it's not always easy, but I know that for me, how I look is very important in the way that I show up, because when I don't look my best, I don't act my best, and I am not my best self. Like, there is no best version of me if I don't look like the best version of me. Like, sure, I might be confident, and sure, I might be smart and brilliant and all of those things, but you will never get those things if I don't actually look like those things. Like, that's how I see it for myself. And so it's very important for me to take a good chunk of money and invest that into my style, and not rush that process as well. Like, I think it was less about acquiring new things and more about, does this thing match with who I am or who I'm becoming? And this best version of myself, when she goes out, how does she look? And making sure that whenever now I'm going out, I'm really putting in effort into how I look, because that's now important to me. 3 4 years ago, it wasn't important to me because my focus was on like saving and buying a property and all of those things. And now that I've gotten that out of the way, I'm now like, okay, I think this next phase of my life is about like looking good and feeling good and doing more things that make me look and feel good, because I know that when I look my best, I tend to do my best. So I want to also encourage you to really think about how you want to show up and present yourself, the kind of investments that you're going to have to make, not just monetarily, maybe even your time as well, maybe in like serving your community or serving at church or serving your friends, serving a partner, and those things that is going to build the character that is in that best version of yourself. So, as I start to wrap up, I want you guys to think about these questions that I asked in the newsletter. What does this new version of yourself do when things get hard? When times are tough? When she is down or he is down, how long does he or she stay down before getting back up? What does she or he eat after work? How many days a week does she work out? How does she or he show up for their daily self and their friends? And how do they keep up with their friends, love them, spend time with them? Who do they go to for help and advice? Those are really, really good questions to like think about and actually figure out for this new version of yourself. Another important part of like reinventing yourself, I would say, is like fitness and health. I think when you are coming into your 20s, there's a lot of things you take for granted. Health is one of them. And it's only now post 25, I'm like, I've always been someone who eats healthy anyway and like exercised or like love the idea of exercising. But these days, I don't play about my health and fitness like routine. Like, I take my vitamins, I go to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week. I am now your certified Pilates girly and yoga and like spin. And I don't even know that I thought I was going to be this person, but I think I was just on a journey of like really making sure I'm my healthiest and like best self when it comes to fitness. And that journey led me to like yoga and Pilates and spin classes, which I absolutely love and would like highly recommend. But that's another key part of being in your 20s that I want you guys to think about if you're not already. Like, what are the foods that contribute well to your system, to your well-being? What are the things that you should be doing less of and doing more of? Like, I know a couple of people have gone through a journey of figuring out if they should be consuming alcohol and at what level. There was a point in my life when I was working, I want to say I was about a year in, or maybe a couple months, 6 7 8 months into just starting work. And I was so inspired by Olivia Pope, like Jessica Pearson, and I decided I was going to be a wine girly, and I was buying good wine, okay, with my 30K salary and bought that really long Olivia Pope wine glass. And every day, or maybe every other day when I came back from work, I would pour myself a glass of wine and I would have that with popcorn. And that was like the way that I love to relax. That no longer works for me. Okay, I cannot be consuming alcohol in that same way. So I think that it's important that as you're thinking about reinventing yourself, you really, really think about fitness and health and well-being and how and the activities that you're going to do to contribute to you also looking and feeling your best. So for me, spa days now are super important for me every single month, as well as like working out, as well as just investing in like the right skincare products, the right fitness routines, even the like gym club that I go to. I wanted it to be a different experience than just going to the gym. Like I wanted to be motivated to go there. And so I'm spending a little bit money on where I go. So that's really all I wanted to talk about. I hope that this has been really useful for you to think about your personal reinvention journey in your 20s. I'm definitely open to speaking to anyone who is finding it difficult or just wants someone else to talk to about it. And I'm usually having these conversations now with a lot of friends, but also friends of friends. So if you do just want someone who has been there, like gone through this quarter life identity existential crisis and has like come out, I would say I'm still figuring it out, but like at least I'm out of that crisis era by God's grace. And I'm now kind of, like standing strong in the person that I am. And of course, I'm still on this journey of becoming, but I am now very comfortable and confident in the person I am. And so I would love to help you get there as well if you need it. But thank you so much for listening to this episode, guys. Please do like this, subscribe, share it with a friend. Let me know what your best points were out of this, and I will catch you in the next episode. All right. Bye.